Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks a lot for being here. So my name is Adrien Stamm. I've been entrepreneur in residence for the last few years, lastly for the Migros Group, where I co-founded Yuno roughly 2 years ago. And today we're going to talk about usage economy, and we're going to talk about circular business models. So what are we going to talk about today? What I would like you to understand with this presentation, with this keynote, is why also you as founders should come into this space and also encourage the creation of circular business models. So first, we need to understand why we need to change our consumption. We need to understand what are the underlying problems in the way we do things today. Then we'll talk about what is it about, the usage economy, circular business model, and to understand more in depth what it means. Third, we need to understand why it's a good idea for customers, why it's a good idea for businesses, and why you also should play this game, potentially. And then we're going to think about what are the challenges for circular businesses in general, but also for Yuno. And I can already tell you there's a few. And of course, we'll end up with a bit more future-looking view on those areas. So first, I would like to start with the story of my GoPro. A couple of years back, I was going to have a trip to the Philippines, and I said, wow, those films, like with the drones underneath the water, with the GoPro, super nice. I want to do the same. So I did my research, and I chose one GoPro, right? And then I received my package, paid quite a bit of cash, went to the Philippines, and then it was a disillusion, because it's actually quite complicated to do nice shots. So most of them we couldn't see shit, and basically it was a big failure. At the end, I took my phone to make pictures, and yeah, that was a bit the end. When I came back to Switzerland, of course, I did zero film. I put this camera in a drawer, took the dust for years and years, and once, I don't know, maybe I was over-motivated to do things, and I took my courage, took pictures, cleaned the thing, put on Marketplace, and finally, after a nice social experiment, I finally sold it for, obviously, a fraction of the price. It was 4 years after, it was worth a penny. Pretty bad, isn't it? And it's actually the reality for a lot of products out there. It's estimated in Switzerland only there's around 15 million products just laying there unused. And of course, if you take to the European Union level, we're talking about 700 million of devices. And overall, there's a little mistake, 2.2 million tons of electronic waste per year in the EU, and roughly 130,000 tons of e-waste in the EU. It's a huge, huge problem. And you can do this exercise with yourself now. How many products do you have home that you don't use? How many products do you, I don't know, you had your phone and had little scratches, and at the end you decided, okay, I'm going to replace it and not do anything with them. You were a bit lazy, it was a bit, it's a bit expensive to do the repairs yourself. It didn't feel like it. So this is the big part of the problem, right? We sit on a tremendous amount of resources that has been extracted, transformed, and then remain unused. So why do we need to change our consumption? First, I want to have a little reflection on ownership. What is ownership about? Of course, we can see this as financial security. If I own, I'm secure, I'm safe. And the second thing is, there's a bit of social prestige in owning. If I come tomorrow with a nice Ferrari, and I'm like, yeah, rent it for the afternoon, of course, it doesn't feel the same. But what is also ownership about? First, it's a lot of cash at once. Ferrari is not cheap, and my GoPro was not cheap either, by the way. And it's a lot of commitment, because once it's yours, first, you're responsible for it, so you need to do the repair by yourself if you want to be able to keep using it. And also, you cannot change your mind that quickly. The experience that you're going to do with your camera, with your phone, or whatever it is, you have no security that it's going to work out, actually. But to change your mind, it's not that easy. And of course, it's a lot of resources. Most of our products, we don't use them intensively over the whole life cycle. So for example, a phone, I'm going to use it for a short amount of time, so a year, but super intensively. Every day, 100 times. My car, potentially over 5 years, but only 20 minutes a day. Which means there's still a lot of time when it's useless, when it's unused. And that's obviously a problem. So what is usage economy? Usage economy refers to the sale of the use of an asset instead of the sale of the asset itself. And the difference is that it is time-bound, generally, or at least usage-bound. Let's go back at the GoPro example. We have 3 people over the course of a year. Person 1, it's me, purchase 1, and then I use it for two months, potentially 1 month. And then useless for years. Next to this, a second person wants to do the same experience and actually does the same experience. Purchase a GoPro, uses it for 2 months, and then useless. And you have a third person who does the same. What does it mean? 3 people, 3 GoPros, and all this white time where I actually paid for the product, but I didn't use it. And it's also 3 GoPros for which we had to extract the resources and basically for a very low efficiency. What could have been another solution? I purchase my GoPro. No, I rent my GoPro. I rent my GoPro, I use it for 2 months, and then give it back, and it goes to the next person. And it goes again, and again, and again. And actually, instead of having 3 products, we have 1 product. The white, useless time completely disappeared, and now we just saved all those resources. And this principle of usage economy is a big pillar towards a more sustainable way of consuming in the world, actually. This is also in the recommendation of the UN. They also cite that 81% of the emissions of a product come from the production. So it doesn't matter the electricity that you put in your phone. It's actually producing the phone who took the most resources. And if you think about it, you don't really need to own the product. I mean, this chair, I just want to sit down. I don't need to own it. If I get a camera, I just want to take shots. I don't really need to own it. For some products, it might be a bit different. I don't know, for a watch or something, but for most of our products, it's the case. And the beautiful thing with usage economy is that we increase the efficiency on a society level, but we don't compromise as consumers. I still had the same GoPro, could do the same shots. It was the same characteristics. I didn't compromise on anything. It was actually cheaper and more efficient as a society. And this is really the power of it. So what is it about with circular business models? What is it? It's a model of production and consumption which involves sharing, leasing, renting, reusing, repairing, refurbishing, and recycling assets. And the goal is to extend the lifespan of those products. So we need to sit somewhere, well, you see them here on the side, actually. We need to sit somewhere here. So we start with the raw material. What are we going to produce the product with? Going to use wood, or metal, plastic? Then there's the sustainable design. We need to rethink how we design our products to enhance the lifespan. I don't know if you know the company that does the Fair phones. The Fair phones are really designed for it. So you have a body and you can plug different components. And if one is broken, super easy, super cheap, you can replace. That's what we call a sustainable design. There's obviously the production. Where is it produced? Which techniques? Which quality? Is it made to last? Is it robust? Is there obsolescence that is already programmed? There's the distribution, of course. So there's a distribution from the production to the people. I think we all made the experience to receiving those huge boxes, and actually the product in it was super tiny. Then there's the consumption, there's the reuse, the sharing, the leasing, the renting, and then there's the waste. So how to separate the precious metals, for example, in the case of phones, and to be able to reuse them in the next cycle. And we are here with Yuno. We're standing on the consumption. We're on the consumption because this is where we spend the most time. The product spends the most time here on the consumption part. And I personally believe that the end consumer has a big impact in shaping how the world produces stuff. So I think that companies answer demand and not the opposite around. I know it's a debate, but this is still my personal belief. So what is Yuno about? Because still I'm also going to talk a little bit about Yuno. So Yuno, it's an online platform where consumers can rent in a flexible, affordable, and sustainable way all the tech products. So we find back this GoPro that we were talking about, $25 a month. It's way, way cheaper than what I paid back then. But we also have everything. We have everything from cameras, from smartphones, from laptops. Why is it flexible? Because it's not like ownership. You can change your mind. You can extend. You can switch. You can change your mind pretty easily. Why is it affordable? Because basically you pay what you use for. If you use a camera for 3 months, you pay for 3 months. And sustainable, because the products are own products. So we have the responsibility to maintain them, and a direct interest, of course, to make them last as long as we can. How do we do this? Why does circular business model enhance the lifespan of products? You need to imagine there's the desirability of the products. At the beginning, it's very high. You know, iPhone 15 now, easy to rent, easy to sell, everyone wants it. And then pretty quickly, people lose interest because they're going to be the iPhone 16 or whatever. At the same time, some people, you get a little scratch. Maybe the battery loses a bit of capacity. Maybe, this button that doesn't work perfectly, the mic, the speaker, all this kind of little stuff that it doesn't prevent to use the product, but still it prevents to the full usage of it. And generally, we don't do anything about it. Too lazy. Personally, that's my type. But what do we do at Yuno? Actually, when we receive the product back, we get the product, we repair, we do the repairs. It's way cheaper for us because we have the place to do it, and we can mutualize cost, basically. So this is how we enhance the lifetime of the products. And at the same time, we also match the product with the right people. So maybe the techie at the beginning will be super interested in having the latest phone, and then it's going to be another person, and the desirability will keep up. So why is it interesting for consumers, and why potentially your future consumers will rent also or use also your service? As we said, it's flexible. Any of those type of business models, you can change your mind. You don't have the burden and the commitment linked to ownership. You're going to make things affordable. You pay as you go. So basically, you're going to open a new new segment, basically, people who couldn't have been able to afford it before. And it's enjoyable, because with those, you become actually a service provider. And with a service provider, you can create bundles, and you can rent not only the product, but also rent the whole experience with it. Maybe more interesting as well for you, why is it interesting as a business? The first point is recurring revenue business models. Investors love that, because you can predict, you know already what you'll be able to reinvest, and it's a good security. It's accessible. You're going to actually, let's take the example of the virtual reality masks. Those potentially $700. You don't want to buy it. You're going to use it for 2 months. Why should you buy it? $700 is going to lie there. But maybe you're ready to still pay $70 for 1 month, have the experience, and return it. So actually, you're going to unlock a new market. You're going to unlock a new segment. And it's integrated, because as a service provider, you really get to know your customers. You create this link, and you can upsell, you can cross-sell, you can create bundles, you can really push the right products to the consumers at the right moment. So it's actually pretty cool. But of course, there is a lot of challenges in all business models that want to be circular. First, we talked about it, the design for repairability. I talked briefly about the Fairphone, but for example, for an iPhone, it's a nightmare. You cannot repair it, we cannot disassemble it, you cannot do anything, basically. So it has to be worth it to do the repairs. There is the production with quality. There's still a lot of production that is really, really cheaply made. There's a lot of obsolescence, and yeah, you cannot control that at the beginning. And there's the whole topic around recyclability, because what to do with an old iPhone is tough. You need to disassemble it, you need to take the precious metals on the part. It's a mess, it's extremely costly, and we don't have decent solutions until now. And are there challenges for Yuno? Maybe more specifically, we're in Switzerland, and maybe also you want to know a bit more about that. Well, yes, first, it's a tough business. It's a tough business, you have a lot of buttons, there's a lot of parameters that make this work. First, maybe from an investor perspective, because it's also, I'm sure there's a lot here. The profitability of the business model is like delayed. Because you need to imagine when we rent, let's take a phone, we purchase the phone, we purchase like all the marketing costs, the logistic costs, etc., and then we wait, basically. We wait that the money flows in. But on a P&L, at the end of the month, it's cut, and you don't see what's coming in the future. So if you want to be profitable soon, actually you need to anticipate quite a lot and have a pretty decent growth. The second thing is that as products become our products, we need to be excellent at managing them. And to manage them, we need to know exactly where they are, what cycles they follow. They got refurbished, how much money we invested in. And this is extremely complex. Technology is not really ready. If you want to go to do an online shop, you go to Shopify. In 2 days, you have your shop. But for a circular business model, it's not that easy. It's also a problem of logistics. Those logistic providers, the classic ones, they're not ready for this. So you need to make tailor-made solution that cost a lot of money. So it's a bit of a big break. Of course, the market is still a bit immature. So you need to educate. Education takes time and money, of course. But yeah, you need to become really asset managers. You need to excel at matching demand of a product, because it needs to be desirable when it's out, but it needs also to be desirable in 3-4 years. We talked about on the previous slide about 4 cycles, but you can do way more. You can do 15 cycles potentially on some products. So what does the future look like? Of course, I see it from the eyes of the consumer electronics. But I think there's still a lot to do. In mobility, there's some stuff. In clothes, there are some stuff. But still, could be more. For the clothes, for example, I always take the example, I see my suits, got a couple of nice suits, and they just take the dust over the years waiting for the next wedding. But actually, into this wedding, I could rent a suit, and I could rent a car to get there, and I could also rent a camera to take nice pictures and make an album. I don't need to own this all year round, waiting for these events. So I think there's still a lot to do here, and I'm sure that you will have also good ideas in those sectors, and will be really creative. I think as well that usership can have a very big impact on the community we're in. I think we became extremely selfish. We barely know our neighbors. And I think by sharing stuff, by sharing our electronics, but also potentially our spaces, we do co-working, co-living, then you start to be able to need to care about the next person. And that, I think, can really have a big impact on how we behave with each other. And of course, companies will have more and more power to put pressure on manufacturers. And I think this is actually a pretty big deal. Because if you go to Apple and say, hey, I want to have more sustainable things from who cares? But of course, if you have a company that owns thousands and thousands and thousands of products, it's the case for iPhones, for example, of course, we have a bit more power. I think with usage economy, obsolescence is something from the past. We build things to last, we build things to be robust and to be used over a longer lifetime. So I think there's a lot of challenges, of course. It's not an easy business. But yeah, I think it's powerful on many levels. So yeah, thanks a lot for your presence today. And yeah, this transition, hopefully with Yuno, of course, but most of all, hopefully with you. Thank you very much.